I had 3 spiritual mentors and they all told me the same thing: I had to choose a spiritual house. What is a spiritual house? A spiritual house is a place where you seat yourself within your belief. Be it church, mosque, becoming a Buddhist, practicing Hinduism, Tao Te Ching, Bodhan, noun, She She, from the Yoruba tradition, spelled with the Yoruba letter S which makes a shish sound. Isezi translates to traditional rites in English. It is the Yoruba name for the spiritual and traditional practice of Yorubas, i.e. Orisha and Ifa worship. Here are some helpful posts on Isezi for further understanding. Isezi Lagba, a Yoruba tradition and national day. Class equals glossary link greater than Isezi, noun, a Cuban spiritual practice similar to the Yoruba traditional practice of Ifa, Orissa. Class equals glossary link greater than Lakumi, Condemnable, Zion Revival, Akan, or anything at all that is personal to you. It can even be a lodge or brotherhood. A spiritual house is the house where you embrace your spirituality. It is your freedom. I remember years ago when my spiritual father, in Lakumi, class equals glossary link greater than Padrino, one of my mentors told me that one day I would become an important and very strong spiritualist. During those times, I was very young, a teenager actually, and also a Christian. But although I was fascinated with my Padrino and his Lakumi religion, I could not see what he saw, and most certainly did not believe it. He had a sly look about him when he spoke about my future, as if he wished he could show it to me. He knew I did not believe him, and where I am now in my life, I now understand how he felt then. It is not easy to convince a person who has no knowledge of their future, what is to come, or even how to achieve it. Especially for those whose present circumstance is at odds with the greatness in front of them. I know wherever my Padrino is now in the world of spirit, he knows who I have become and that my journey, although very rough, has finally placed me where he told me I would be. Noun, Ba, from the Yoruba culture. Iba is a word often used during prayers from worshippers of the Ifa, Orisha tradition. It is used to honor or pay homage to God, ancestors, Orissas, elders, kings, wise ones, etc. It is used to give honor or praise. Sentence, Iba Olodomere, Oba Ajiki, homage to God, the Creator, the King who we praise first. Class equals, glossary link greater than Iba my Padrino. One Saturday afternoon we were standing before Padrino's Olokun, an Orisha, or god, goddess of the sea, who dwells at the deep bottom of the ocean. Orisha of wealth and fertility. Olokun originates from Benin, modern-day Edo State, Nigeria. The gender of Olokun remains a mystery as some worship Olokun as feminine, while others believe him to be masculine. Class equals glossary link greater than Olokun shrine, and in his heavily accented Cuban voice, he told me, it doesn't matter where you go spiritually, but you have to choose a spiritual house in order to host the beings you came to this world with to do your work. In other words, I would be who I was destined to be regardless of what religion or traditional house I chose to be a part of. I was born Obara Meji, whether or not I or my parents knew it. All that was needed was for me to find her and become one with her. It is important for me to tell you all that during those times Christianity was everything to me. I was crazily in love with Jesus Christ, and looking back I can understand why. I am naturally a soft-hearted and compassionate person, and in the biblical description of Jesus, I saw myself. So even if I had to leave Christianity, there was no way I could see myself leaving Jesus behind. I had a strong grip on his frocktail, I did mean say I never did aguh let go. But still I felt an intense pull, like steel to a magnet, to know more. Deep within me was a feeling that I was too contained, in a church setting, and although the Bible did fascinate me, it just stopped making sense after a while, and when the time came for me to release Jesus, I cried. I felt as if I were abandoning what I was taught, and who was to me, my best friend. Yet when I saw Padrino do a sacrifice to noun, Shu, Yoruba divinity, Orissa, demigod, deity, of the earth. He is considered the world police and governor. He is the closest messenger to God in the Orisha tradition. He is also known as a trickster spirit, wise beyond belief, and uses this wisdom to outsmart everyone for a greater purpose. Class equals glossary link, greater than ESU or any other Orisha, or cast his cowrie shells, or dance to the Vada drum, or allow spirits to possess his body and pass messages. When I heard him do ritualistic prayers, I was enthralled. I felt as if this was where I belonged. Even though I felt as if I was abandoning Jesus, I was haunted by this for a time. The Christian indoctrination very strong. When Padrino, his daughter, and I would go to the river to give an offering to Noun, Osun, is an Orisa, a feminine energy, a deity, or a goddess that reflects one of the manifestations of God in the Ifa and Yoruba practice. She is one of the most popular and venerated Orishas. Osun is the deity of the river and fresh waters, fertility, and beauty and love. Class equals glossary link, greater than Osun. All that had sat still before we arrived would become alive. The wind now blew, and the leaves scattered, the river would stir, and all the ducks came out of hiding. The riverside now pulsated with life. I needed to know more. I wanted to become a part of this thing that fascinated me so much. However, because Padrino explained to me that all that I was fascinated by originated from Africa, he referred to himself as African, although white-skinned Cuban, I was reluctant to go the Cuban root of noun, NN, the action of admitting someone into a secret or obscure society or group, typically with a ritual, spiritual process of being born Agan. Class equals glossary link, greater than initiation. And I told myself that if I should ever choose this path, then it shall be Africa that I choose. What was most fascinating in my life as I think about it, was that my three mentors belonged to three different religions: Christianity, Mr. Mitchell, a bishop; Vodun, Mr. Pierre, a noun, Hu, Na, male priest in the Haitian religion; Voodoo, class equals, glossary link, greater than Hongan; Lakumi, Padrino, a Lakumi priest. And they all told me the same thing: I had to choose my spiritual house, but where did I fit? Mr. Mitchell was a staunch Christian, but an extraordinary diviner. I have not seen his second. The man was a mystic, but all he dealt with was the Bible. He would always say he had nothing to do with the dead or spirits. Yet while saying this, he had a noun, altar, a decorated space dedicated to the reverence and worship of the ancestors. It is also giving a space for your personal non-physicals to visit and to pass on blessings whenever they choose. It is also seen as a place of power, or portal, where you can connect with anything divine. Here are some posts on altar. Your spiritual altar 2. Food for spirits 3. The importance of your sacred space. Class equals glossary link, greater than altar in his house of Mother Mary, who was a saint, who lived and died. I'm sure you get where I'm going with this. Eva. Mr. Mitchell. One note I'd like to add about him. Mr. Mitchell became sick at the end of his years with Alzheimer's. There is a huge reason for this. Mr. Mitchell had neglected an aspect of his spirituality, but I will write a post explaining more about this later. Image source: CNN, COMMR. Pierre very much wanted me to become a part of his religion, Vodun. He told me the same thing as they all did: I needed a spiritual house. By this time, Mr. Pierre was dying and I had no idea. In his closet, he would have clay vessels that contained all of his spirits, to which he told that he had no one to give them to and he wanted to give them to me. Of course, as a Christian, abomination was my first thought, despite my curiosity. However, fear was victorious and I never took him up on his offer. Mr. Pierre died from emphysema. There is a correlation between all my three mentors. I'll make a note to write about this one day. Now, there is a way for you to know where you belong spiritually. And it has nothing to do with power or your abilities. It has nothing to do with what you feel you must do, or even who you feel you must be. It has everything to do with where you are led, what interests you, what is calling you. Most often we become curious of so many things at once in our life. There are some interested in African religions, and so they'll travel the path of Kemet, Egypt, while having dreadlocks, and others will hold the Bible and at the same time study the Metu Neter in the Quran. Others will initiate into Bodhin, Orisha, Mami Wada, worship Zion, among other things. I am never one to judge anyone, and I do understand the need to be curious and explore. However, oftentimes, fear allows even the Christian to peep, to read, to try and find things out, while still attending church or the mosque. But for the spiritualist, the one who came to make a difference on earth, the one who is here to find their place and shine their light, the way how you find yourself or your spiritual house, is what resonates the most to you. This translates to where your noun, ori is a Yoruba concept of one's inner consciousness. Ori literally translates to head in Yoruba. It is also considered to be a divinity, the one that leads and guides you throughout your life. It is possible to come to Earth with either a very strong Ori, head, or a very weak Ori, class equals, glossary link, greater than Ori, or your inner consciousness leads you. In my case, I was pointed to Isazi through the Lukumi system and my wonderful padrino. Bodhin held my interest but could not remove me from Christianity. But my memories of my padrino and all that we did in nature, and the beauty of the deities, was the magnet that kept pulling me, and in that I found my place. It was what resonated with me most. And so I urge you all to listen to what your own head, Ori, is telling you. There are many potential babalawos in church. In other words, these pastors were never initiated, have no interest in the tradition, no interest in spiritual work on a compound, but because of what they have innately, they are able to heal and do extraordinary things while in church, though they will condemn the noun, Babalawo, Baba Oniawo equals Babalawo, or father, owner, of secrets. This person is an earthly representative of Orunmila, the Orisha of wisdom and owner of the IFA divination system. The Babalawo is the keeper of secrets, knowledge, and wisdom of the IFA tradition. To gain this title, one must go through extensive training under the tutelage of a highly experienced and competent Babalawo. During this process of training, the student is called an AWO. Once he has gained experience and becomes well versed in the vast wisdom of IFA, he becomes independent and is now called a Babalawo. Related, IYAFA, class equals, glossary link, greater than Babalawo. Why is this possible? Because the pastor has chosen Christianity to be his house, but Christianity did not remove the light that he came to the world with, and so his work, regardless of where he resides, will continue. However, if that is not where he is meant to be, then who he ought to be will be suppressed and can cause many disruptions until he releases his own restrictions. Despite my fears of the consequence of leaving Jesus, and despite my Christian upbringing, I finally released and allowed myself to be guided to where I was meant to be, and not where my culture said I should be. There's one more thing you must know. I must explain that there are powerful people, and then there are powerful people. Therefore, some spiritual houses, while still powerful in their own right, are not able to contain the light that some people carry for the betterment of the world at large. A Zion revival goer, or celestial church in Nigeria, cannot be a part of a Catholic church. Why? Because there is no battery to charge the spirit of the Zion person in the calm and quiet Catholic church. Spiritually, there are blocks existing in the Catholic Church due to the protocol on right behavior. Everything has to do with levels in spirituality, and not everyone has the same amount of light radiating from them. While some may be annoyed with this, we cannot all be on the same level because each level is needed. Somebody must be the pointer and someone must be the savior. No one's gift is more important than the other. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. If one piece is missing, the whole thing cannot make sense. There is no small role and no greater role. Everyone simply has their own place. How you get there is up to you. Let go and allow yourself to be led.